Oh, hi there guys. Just a real quick here. This is just a bit of something that I know I have mentioned before, and I've seen a lot of other guys on YouTube talk about this very thing. And yeah, like it says in the title, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Yeah, so come with knives. Anyway, this little bit of a preamble came about by a chap who had bought a knife off me, and then he got in contact and said, look, I've got a knife and I don't use it much and things like that, but could I alter the blade shape because I've got a bit of a use that I want to use it for? And I said, yeah, no problem, you know, bring it on down. So basically he did, and he'd done a bit of an outline of what he wanted. I said, yeah, fine, that was a few days ago, then I've got round to it this morning. And as soon as I started taking the long part off, it was a bit of a longer blade. I thought, soft anyway. So this is basically what we've ended with. It was quite a bit longer to start with, and I basically just obviously put the bevels on. It's only very thin steel, it's about 2mm steel stock, so I've put a 30-degree Scandi on it rather than grinding it higher up, because he actually wants it for, I believe he called a patch cutting knife. So many black powder guys out there will know what that's about. That's what he wanted it for. And I thought, anyway, about a bit of a curiosity, I cleaned up the little piece that came off the end, and I checked the Rockwell on it, and this came out at 45. I'll do it again for you in a minute and I'll show you. And I thought, and I know when I was talking to the chap, and you know, he said, well, you know, he bought it from somebody at like one of these, like I don't know if it was a farmer's market country type thing. And the guy said, yeah, I made it out of a saw blade. So I mean, I have no idea what the steel is. If it was a saw blade, and it's rusted, so it's some sort of carbon saw blade, obviously not God knows what or how old. Could, you know, a popular one is L6, I believe. It's a popular one for saw blades. Now, I'm not knocking the steel at all. I don't know what the steel is. But all I can say is, this takes me back to another knife, which I'll show you in a second. Well, might not show you it, but I'll tell you why. And that, you know, sometimes it's not always the steel, it's the heat treat. So you take something like a saw blade, any kind, big circular saws, flat saws, whatever, and yeah, the teeth are going to be hard, but once you get past the teeth and you get to the blade, they are often quite soft. And I will run that on the rack and I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, and I thought, so that's, you know, just shows you need to be a little bit more careful. Like I say, it's not always what steel it is. I hear it a lot, I see it a lot on YouTube videos. I'm making a knife out of a saw blade. The reality is, and at 45, you haven't got a knife, period. You haven't. I've had a hell of a job getting anything like an edge on that, because you just can't. At 45, you can't. The edge, you know, it has taken an edge, but the edge structure will not support, you know, the grinding and polishing. But it's, you know, pop little cut patches for them, you know. Now I have another knife, and this is, I'm not going to show it very quickly. Now the reason for that is my daughter bought me this about 4 years ago when she was over visiting from the chap over, and I know the chap who makes these, and he's a very nice chap, and it does do quite, you know, it's quite a rustic thing, which is very popular, but it's nicely done, you know, so I'm not knocking that. And again, I know he uses L6 steel because he's told me, or he hopes it's L6 steel, because again, a lot of his stuff comes from reclaimed saw blades and things like that. But I do remember seeing him at a fair, and I must be talking 4 years ago now, probably just after, I think that's where my interest came from, just after my daughter bought me this, and it wasn't expensive, so you know, and I asked him what heat treat he did, because even then I had a bit of an interest in it, and he just said, don't bother, they don't need it, you know. He said, I'm just really careful when I cut them out and I grind them out that I don't overheat the steel. He says, and they're absolutely fine and they don't need it. And actually the reason this knife doesn't get used is I just thought it was a bit soft. I couldn't really quantify that at the time, but I tried to put an edge on it, and it did take an edge, just wouldn't hold the edge. I know the chap does a lot of kitchen knives and things like that, and also heavier choppers, and they're probably actually for that kind of work might be okay. And I've checked the Rockwell on this morning, and it came out at 49. So again, that's obviously 5 points higher than the chaps I've done, but 49 is nowhere near, you know, knife steel hardness. I mean, realistically, anybody out there will know, I mean, realistically, you can anything from probably 54 I'd class as the softest you would want to go, and that would be for something like maybe a butcher's knife who's going to be steeling it all day long, and that will be soft enough to allow the steeling to help keep and maintain the edge, right up to maybe a 62, and that would probably be on with standard steel, like a small Skinner, or one of the new steels that are out, you know, some of the new powders, CPMS steels and stuff like that will take a harder edge, but again, generally in the smaller knife, because once you get into that kind of hardness, you haven't got the toughness and bend in the blade. But anyway, that's an aside. So yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly show you run the test on this, and bring you back. Okay chaps, here we are set up. You can see the tester. So basically what I'm going to do is I'll bob this piece of steel on here where I've cleaned it up. There she is. Set her on. Well, it must be a very similar thickness to the other one I've got. And here we go. I've never seen a piece of hardened or tempered steel go that far round on the preload. There you are. Bang on, 45. Just take you in there. That's on the out. That's your Rockwell scale on the outside. So there we go. Oh, need my glasses for reading. Can't see anything when I've got them on though. So as you can see, I'm just going to take the load off of that. You know, you need to be very careful, anybody who is out there thinking of buying a knife. It's not just enough for somebody to say, oh yeah, it comes from a saw blade, oh saw blade, it must be good steel then. There's a lot more to it than that, as you can see. So with that, hope you found that reasonably interesting. I will sign off, and I'll catch you on the flip side, guys.